Bjorn is saying the quiet part out loud. Bjorn is saying what every other CEO of the sneaker brands won't say, but actually they all said it in a formal letter to administration asking, pretty much begging for a tariff exemption. I don't really think it happens. I don't think they're granted that, which means things could get very bad within footwear all around, not only for the brands, but for the consumers. Now, this isn't the first time I've spoken on this. This isn't the first time I've shared how bad this could get. So at least I'm right on brand continuing to talk about it. My goal is to make this video short and sweet if I can, but also like I'm really loving the look. Okay, clearly I got a new bucket hat in because it's always go blue every single day. Okay, I will continue to bleed blue, but let's dive in because Bjorn is over here looking like HVL during the tournament a few years ago when she just threw her hands up. That's exactly what Bjorn is looking like because he said, since we currently cannot produce almost any of our products in the US, these higher tariffs will eventually cause higher costs for all our products for the US market. Thank you for saying the quiet part out loud, Bjorn. Thank you for saying what needed to be said, which is the truth, because too many people who don't run a business clearly didn't study economics, they didn't study finance. They believe that we are just going to, one, magically start producing everything here in the United States with no infrastructure for that. You all don't even want to pay people a living wage and they're working 40 hours a week. So how on earth you think that manufacturing is just moving back to the States en masse is crazy to me. Also, you kind of need stability to be able to plan long term for that. We are in the most unstable time we have certainly ever been, and it feels like we are combining 2008 and 2020. My God. Could we ask for a worse recipe for a disaster? We're really combining 2008, 2020. And it's, again, I feel like it's only going to get worse. So when you think about the fact that a tariff is, again, it's going to be a tax on the imported goods that are coming in. We import everything. Like, just take a look, just take a walk around your house real quick, or even in your closet, and just look at the tag of where items are made. And even if they're not necessarily made, let's say, in China, the packaging and the plastic and so many of those components that still go into the final product are made there. So in some way you're affected. And I do think it's interesting. I've seen some other creators say, you know, they felt like people were attacking them or their comment section just got really wild. And I know people will say, well, I don't want to get political and I'm keeping politics out of this. Here's the thing. Global trade mandates, global trade changes, they affect you because they have an effect on the things that you buy and use every single day. So whether you think these politics have a play in your life or not, they do. They do. They absolutely do. I'm a woman, so they always have a play in my life, okay? But they absolutely do. So I know this is, oh, well, I haven't been affected by certain things. You're going to be affected now because also, not a fun fact, scary fact, we're not really seeing full ships come over here to the United States ports, which means we're probably going to see some empty shelves soon. It's feeling very 2020 while we're on the verge of 2008 with defaulted student loans and repossessed cars and homes in default. It's just a great time to be in this country, isn't it? Okay, so let's keep this going. The tariffs are a tax on the imported goods, and I know there's like two camps. There's the Sane camp, which understands that as a business, because a business is a business, it's not a charity, okay? They're going to have to account for those costs somewhere. Now, I'm going to get to the whole, well, they have margins, so why don't they just lower them? We're going to get to that real fast before we close this video out. You have the sane people who understand those costs are going to have to be passed along somewhere because there's only one other option, okay? Or you have people that think, well, they should just go ahead and absorb the costs. Or then we have the very insane people that think that the factories or the country that the goods are being imported from are the ones paying the tariffs. Did we not pay attention in any course in school? Like a single one? So what happens when they're taxed on these goods that are imported? Well, one, some things are actually just kind of sitting there chilling on the porch because who wants to pay the actual markup there? I don't think some of the brands do. I mean, again, there are other retailers, not just sneaker related, where they haven't actually just, you know, claimed those items because they're still trying to figure out what to do with the actual additional costs because that takes planning. And they understand they're either going to take a hit or they're going to have to pass that hit along to the consumer. What will happen, sensibly, for most people, as Bjorn said, the cost is going to go up for the US consumer. That's what happens. This is why It wasn't smart in any way, shape, or form to vote for this. It wasn't. It It wasn't. All right. So, in terms of the margins, because I know that's what people say, well, they have margins. And yes, to actually manufacture a sneaker, we know, in order, if you know, you've seen what the cost is, right? Not necessarily high. Let's say $20 maybe for the really higher end ones. So let's just say maybe $30. But there's so much else that goes into it, right? In terms of getting it here and the marketing. And you are paying for other additional salaries on top of that are here in the States or for these brands. And they have to account for the retailers and so much more, right? There's a lot of additional added costs. These last minute costs that get tacked on for the shoot. And then you do need a profit margin. You need margins there to be able to continue to operate, to fund research and development, for actual campaigning. You need that. What do you think happens when their margins are cut into? Do you think stakeholders, more importantly, shareholders, want to see margins cut into? They don't. I can promise you they don't. So since they're going to operate as a business, they have one of two choices. They can pass the cost along to you to maintain their margins, or they're going to have to cut something within their business. What do you think they're going to cut? What do you think? First off, the most expensive thing you have is human capital. Outside of real estate, you have human capital. That means people. Do you know what they're going to start doing? Firing people. Whether you know it or not, Adidas already started doing that. We've already seen Vans lay off people. The layoffs will continue. They will, not just because of the tariffs, but just because of the instability in these economic times right now. Oh, and by the way, when the disposable income for people continues to slow down, which it's already been doing, I already spoke on that, the industry is already taking a hit. Disposable income goes down, your sales go down, your profits go down, you have to account for the loss, you end up firing people. So if you all are somehow going to be happy for individuals to start losing their jobs left and right, wow, because if you own a business, where do you think disposable income is going to play a part in people having the money to pay for your goods and services? It's not going to be there. It's not. So let's just bring this on home, because people say, oh, well, the profit margins, and they have them, they can take the loss. If you work at a job, right, and you're doing your job, whatever you need to be able to do your job, let's just say it could even be a desk job, okay? You know what you get paid. And then you know what your fixed expenses are. And then past the things that you need to live every single day, you actually have a margin to play with. That's your disposable income. It's a great thing, right? I love the margin I have. I love the disposable income I have. I can choose to invest more. I can choose to save it. I can choose to spend it. You do things you want to do with it. And that's your lifestyle, right? We have a lifestyle standard we really want to maintain. Could you imagine if your manager came to you and said, for the things you need to actually do your job, I need you to start paying a monthly fee on them. And you need these things to do your job. I don't care if it's like Microsoft or a certain software you need. You need these things to do your actual job. And if you don't have them, then you can't do your job. So clearly you want to stay employed. You're like, okay, I guess I have to start paying this tax. Are you going to pay me more to account for these added costs? And they go, no, absolutely not. We're not paying you more. So do you know what you would then have to do? Adjust your lifestyle, which means you are lowering your profit margins. Do we see how that works? Because who wants to do that? No one. You wouldn't want to lower your own lifestyle. You wouldn't want to adjust your own profit margins down, which means these brands also do not want to do that. It is a business. It is not a charity. I know that doesn't sit well with people, but it's the truth. This is capitalism. You benefit from it, and you're also going to take a hit when things aren't just going to go your way. So, and there was a letter. Again, there was a letter sent over to the administration. I don't think they give one shoe two shits about things that are happening, but they spoke about the fact, also, let's just call out a lie here. I'm going to call out a lie. Unlike some industries, we make items Americans must purchase and cannot finance. We can tell the truth about the tariffs hurting the industry and not lie. Who's not financing these sneakers? People are charging, swiping, tapping, paying for on these sneakers all the time. We don't need to lie. Let's stop the lies. Significant price increases from these tariffs will preclude these American consumers from having affordable footwear options. Listen, there are some that are not like sneakerheads, and they are only buying the shoes they absolutely need. And I 100% get that, and I respect that. And they're going to be the ones that are hurting. They truly will be. They will. I'm not saying sneakerheads are not going to hurt, but they are. But guess what? Sneakerheads don't just keep the lights on like that. It's the mom and the dad that are buying for their kids, okay, especially as they're in those real rapid growing years. that's who's really going to hurt from this. So every brand that you can think of is included in this. We have Adidas again for America, North America. We have Brooks, we have Clark's, we have Cole Haan, we have Columbia Sportswear, we have let me go down even more because the ones that you all seem to actually care about. Of course, Nike is on here. Yeah, they're on here. Journeys, every brand you can think of, even Ortholite is on here. Puma. So any footwear brand that is essentially working here within the States. We have Under Armour and Tom's and VF Corp. So that incorporates a lot. Wolverine. They understand the ramifications of what's going to happen. It's not good. It's not good. The brands that might do well, as like Footwear News had an article come out, the brands that might do well are those that did well during like the 2020. And when you have to pull back on disposable income, the shoes that you have are for function and usually for fitness. So running brands will do great. Brooks, Hoka, New Balance, they'll continue to do, fine. These other brands are going to have to adjust. So yeah, just go ahead and comment your thoughts below. If these prices go up, are you pulling back? That's really what I want to know. If these prices go up, are you specifically pulling back? Because remember, these shoes are not a need. That's not a negative thing to say. That's just the truth. That's just me saying the truth, okay? But all right, this video absolutely wasn't long. I'm going to do my best to try to get it up. If you haven't caught my video on the New Balance 992 Made in USA Nimbus Cloud, please be sure to check that out. The A1 finally drops on May 6th. My goal is to be able to just do a quick video on what I picked up from that drop. I have had my money set aside waiting, okay? I want shoes. I want the hoodie. I want the A1 tights. I want it all within reason. So I'll have my video up hopefully very soon for that as soon as I'm able to. Again, this didn't end up being short because I got on a rant. We are in some interesting times right now, but I thank you for tuning in. As always, act your age, not your shoe size. Peace.